All right, today I will show you how to properly swab the bassoon. Now I just have two pieces of the bassoon together to show you. These are the only two that require swabbing. The long joint, you'll notice, is unlined wood because most of the moisture will end up concentrating in the wing joint, which is lined with rubber. You can see inside your joint if you have a wood bassoon. And the smaller bore of the boot is also lined. That's to protect the wood from rotting. And again, if you have a plastic bassoon, it doesn't apply, but you still do need to swab it because the condensation will stay in there and start to get gurgly and can rot the pads of the bassoon, and it can lead to an expensive repair. Even more expensive with wood bassoons because they can get something called boot rot, which is an overconcentration of moisture along the boot. You really can't replace it. Most of the time the bassoon is ruined. So just the two pieces, the wing and the boot, require swabbing. And there are universal swabs that can do both. But remember, we have a taper or an expansion of the bore from the smallest point to the bell all the way, the 9 feet of tube. So the swab for the wing joint should be a little smaller than the swab for the boot. So it is actually better to get two swabs. And so I'll show you that. What I do is I put the whole bassoon back in the case, and then I take back out in one at a time each of the pieces I'm going to swab. And I actually have two swabs here. This is the boot swab. It has a drop weight on one end, kind of like a fishing lure, and a backup pull cord. And I always just make sure there's no knots or ties in it and set it somewhere so it doesn't fall on the floor. And this is the wing joint swab. As you can see, is much smaller. It does have a little weight on it as well, but it's not as thick. This boot swab weight will not fit into the wing. Okay, so I'll just take the boot first and my boot swab and make sure there's no knots. Oh, I got a knot. So why no knots? Because it can get stuck. So it's really important to make sure there are no knots. It's the worst thing ever to get a swab stuck in an instrument. Okay, and then what we do is with a pancake facing you, you're gonna set the drop weight in the bigger hole and feed it in till it clicks at the bottom. And remember, I showed you what it looks like without the cap. We're going to slowly turn it to feed it, and inside the weight is now going through that loop. You can hear it jingling. It's on the other side now, and I feed it up and it comes out the other end right there, and we pull it. And again, make sure no knots as you pull through. And what that does is it draws the moisture from this side around into here. Remember, this side is unlined, this bore is. So the moisture is being pulled back into the lined, and then it's able to dry it and pull it through. I am just taking the cap off for demonstration. You don't need to take the cap off when you swab. So again, boot swab, drop weight in the bigger hole, clicks to the bottom. I kind of hold it right here to get a grip of it on it, and then turn it upside down, feed it up, and it comes out the other end, and pull. Ta-da! Down here in Corpus, I have to swab maybe 2 or 3 times because it's so humid here. And then I put that back in the case and carefully put my boot swab back. And then I take the wing joint And the wing swab, again, some knots today. This is good. Okay, so no knots. And what I do with this is I'm gonna carefully turn this upside down. You wanna watch out for this. You give yourself enough room below. Turn it upside down so you're going into the bigger hole, the bigger end. Why? Because there's some more room to back it up. So then I put this drop weight in and feed it down, and see it's already coming out the other end. Make sure there's no knots, like watch it going in, and you pull it. If it feels like it's getting stuck, you can back it up, but it should be good to go, and that's it. Then I look inside. If I still see some droplets, I'll swab it a few more times. And again, with corpus, I tend to do this 2 to 3 times at least. And put it back in the case. Put the swab back in the case. The swabs will be moist, so make sure they just don't touch the bassoon. There's usually like a compartment for the swabs in a separate spot. And that is how to swab out your bassoon. The other piece that gets moisture is the bocal. And that's the first thing to come off, right? What I do to clean that out is just real quick, I'll cover the bocal hole and blow the spit out of this end, just sort of dry that off, and you're done.